Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to 3D model a professional Damascus chef knife. This is a great starting project if you are new to 3D modeling or just want to sharpen your sub-D modeling skills. With this being said, let's get to work. So we can see that we have this really cool Damascus metal texture on the knife, but it doesn't go on the handle as well. So this is possibly a two metal piece that was welded together. So this is going to be interesting to make. So let's start by centering our image. I'm going to go to the back. I'm going to rotate it around 45 degrees, just so it's easier to work with. The position is fine. Maybe I'm going to raise it up a bit, kind of like this. Great. So let's start with a cylinder. We're going to drag it in place. We're going to use the handle as a starting point because I usually try to start with the part that seems harder to make. And now we're going to go to display and we're going to see wireframe. We can see that we have kind of too many rotation segments. So I'm going to say 12. Now, what I want is a number that doesn't give me any edge in the middle here, but it gives me an edge here. So I can cut it in half and then use symmetry. So let's try 13. 14. 14 polygons is decent. What if I go with 10? Okay, so 10 looks like a manageable shape. I'm going to press C to make it editable. I'm going to press 0 to get the rectangle select key. I'm going to select the top, the bottom, delete the caps. I'm going into edge mode and trying to get this into shape. Great. So now what we're going to do is let's try to first of all cut this in half. Okay, apply symmetry. I'm going to go here on the mirror plane and select the XY axis. Great. So now let's try moving the points so they fit the blade. What we can see here is that this isn't perfectly round. It's more of a flat plane here with rounded edges. So I'm going to do is I'm going to select this row. I'm going to press D for scale. I'm just going to push them up a bit, so we get this flat shape here. I'm going to select the next row. And I'm just going to push that row a little bit back. Okay. I'm going to move this a bit back. We can see that it has a weird shape. So we're just going to select these rows. Just scale them up a bit so we get that round surface. Okay, looks great. Gonna maybe push this up a bit, and I'm gonna make it a little bit more thin. Okay, I'm just gonna bring this okay, great. This looks more like a knife handle. Or should I make it thinner? Let's see, how thin can we go? Okay. Okay. This is perfect. Now what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to bring them a little bit outer side, because you can see that this edge is a little bit harder. It's not round. You can clearly see by the specular hits. It has this rounded edge. Okay, perfect. I'm going to select the symmetry. I'm going to add a subdivision surface. Perfect. Now by using the Q key, you can see that I enable and disable the sub-D surface. We're going to use this a lot. So let's start moving the vertex points where they should be. I'm using UK. Using KL, I'm gonna add a cut. Now I'm gonna get my rectangle selection tool. I'm just gonna move these vertex points where they appear on the image. Okay, and you can see here that we have this rounded section that then becomes the blade itself. This is going to be a fun part to work. Okay. Now we're just going to bring this edge down. Basically, we're trying to mimic the shape. And it's a lot easier to do because we have these reflections that kind of tell us, look, this is how the shape goes. Okay, great. I'm going to rise this part. Perfect. Now let's add another edge loop. Just raise this up a bit so we get this nice curved surface. The top is fine. And now we already have the space. I'm going to optimize it. I'm going to take the edges and pressing Control, just going to drag once, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times for now. And now we can see that here it becomes a little bit thinner. So what I'm going to do is going to point mode. Just going to lower these points and lower these points a bit as well. We can see that the edge just goes down a bit, then it goes up. We're going to add another loop. Just going to drag it up, drag this part down. You can see that, okay. So we're just going to grab this up, going to take this part down, and we can see that this part is flat. So the edge basically starts around here and then it goes up and down. This edge goes again up and down, but they all maintain this flat surface in the middle for better grip. Okay, so let's take this, press R for rotate, and just move it like so, because we can see that the handle curves a bit. I'm going to take this, rotate it, and we're just going to move this part, kind of like so. So now you may see a curve in the image, but that is just because of perspective, because you can see that the camera's main focus point is here. Everything is planar. This part is straight. And then as we go into the right, perspective starts to trick us a bit. So it's important to know that this part is straight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press L. I'm going to rotate it at the angle that I want the points to be. I'm going to press L again, then T for scale, just so we have a nice straight line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this part again. And I'm going to press T and scale it inwards a bit. Kind of like so. Then I'm going to manually select this edge, just drag it inwards. Then I'm going to select this point and this point, and drag them inwards. Okay, so we get this tapered bottom end. Now I'm gonna press the B key for bridge. I'm just gonna bridge. If it will let me, I'm gonna bridge the cap. So this is already starting to look pretty good. And we can see that this and the blade, basically the part that gets into the handle, is the same piece as the blade. So we're gonna have to take polygons exactly from the handle and transform them into the blade part. This is gonna be fun. First, we must determine how thick is the blade. And I'm gonna say that the blade is around this thick. But now, because we've added a line, if we smooth, you can see that now we have this ugly crease. See, that you can see now, and that doesn't appear in the image. So what are we gonna do is we are gonna press KL for edge loop. We're gonna go here and say preserve curvature. We can see now that the software is trying to recreate the curvature. So now if I smooth it again, we don't get that nasty seam. Great, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to press MO for the slide tool. I'm just going to slide this polygon a little bit up, because this part is going to be the part where the blade comes from. Okay, I'm going to go into my top view. I'm going to do the same for the bottom vertex. Great. Okay, and now let's start making this sided part, which can look a bit scary, but in practice is very easy to make. So I know that the blade is going to come from this edge and this edge. So all of these other edges are going to get closed, like we did in the back part. So I'm just going to press V for bridge. Boop. Boop. Okay, and now we can start making the edge of the blade. What I'm seeing here is that I've put the edges a bit off. So let me try and fix this. Okay, because we can see here that this is the edge of the blade. And after moving those points, now our 3D model has the exact topology. Great. And actually, we can take these points back a bit, because we see this has a curve like this. Okay. Great. So now let's just select this edge and start extruding outwards. I'm going to extrude once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, and 7 times. Great. Now we're going to start, as we've done until now, to adjust the points so they fit the shape of the blade. Like this, like so, and like so, right in the tip. I'm going to move the bottom parts. And now, because we have symmetry, okay, you can see that this is starting to look really good. So now what we can do is we can actually UL, yeah, select the edge, then deselect the parts that went onto the handle. Now we're going to press E, and holding Control, we're going to extrude down. I mean to the X-axis. Now we're going to press T for scale. Now we're going to move them until we see them overriding the symmetry line. Great. So now here we just have to select the vertex, MQ, weld. Go here, select the vertex, MQ, weld. But now if we look closely, we can see that the edges are a little bit soft. So what are we going to do? We're going to add, and especially here, when we can see that this is a really sharp, clean edge, and here it's more of a more of a puree. So I'm gonna take this edge, I'm gonna push it back a little bit more, okay, until we get that slanted shape. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of the polygons. I'm gonna press E for extrude inner. I'm going to click and drag, and by doing that you can see that we created a new edge. And now when we activate the subdivision surface, you can see that we have this clean, nice edge. And here you can see that it looks a little bit weird. When you have problems like this, it's because you have a complex shape being created by the subdivision surfaces that doesn't have a lot of original lines. So we're just going to Control L, add another line. Then we're going to go into the side view and just clean it up a bit. Okay. Now this looks way better. So now we have a sharp edge. We also need some sharp corners. So I'm gonna Control A and just add an edge. First of all, I'm gonna deselect the preserve curvature. I'm gonna edge here, an edge here. I'm gonna add an edge here. And we can see that because I didn't deselect the preserve curvature, when I made this cut, it's a little bit bulging. So I'm going to press UL, select stop at boundary loop, select this line, dissolve it, then Control L with the preserve curvature deselected, and add it again. So now it's perfect. What I'm going to do, I'm going to sharpen this edge as well. So again, we add a cut. Perfect. And you can see that the topology matches the image exactly. So now what we're going to do is we're gonna separate the wood from the metal. Okay. So we're gonna save the subject, and you can see that I did the topology so that this part would be easy. So I'm just selecting the wood part. And if you didn't have an edge right here because you did the topology in a different way, you could just Control L, create an edge, then select just the polygons on that side. But that's not the case. Okay, and I'm gonna press U and P. And then I'm gonna press delete. And now we've separated the handle from the metal structure. Okay, great. I'm just going to add some thickness to the metal and the wood. So I'm going to go to edge mode, select this edge, select this edge. Great. Gonna press D for extrude. I'm gonna say 90 degree. This is enough. And now we're gonna have to go here and clean up the points that are on the border with the symmetry. Just drag. Great. Great. Now we can see that it has a bit of a soft edge, so we're just gonna consolidate it a bit here. I'm gonna consolidate this edge. Control A, optimize, so we get rid of the extra vertex. Now we can see that the symmetry only applies on the first object that's in its hierarchy. So we're gonna select both objects and press Alt G, and now they're in a null. A null is like a Photoshop folder. So now we're gonna select the edge, the handle. We're gonna select the edges of the handle. And again, we're gonna disable symmetry so we can see inside it. Now press D, it's already at 90 degrees. Extrude. Perfect. Now we're gonna open the symmetry. Activate the symmetry. We're gonna drag. Actually, I'm gonna hide this object. Okay. So now we can see the handle interior pattern. Great. Great. Now we're going to harden the edges as we did for the handle. Now we're going to show the handle. It looks perfect. Okay, and now if we look here, let me just rotate the image back. If we look here, we can see that it has like this really sharp edge. So we're going to create that too. We're going to select the blade part. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add KL, add another loop, scale it a bit just to add this like fish shape head. Great. So how am I going to create that edge? Well, I'm just going to select all of the polygons that we've got when we created the thickness of the blade. I'm going to select the polygons on the bottom side. And I'm going to extrude them downwards until they fill up that space. Great. And now I'm going to select the outer edge. I'm going to deselect stop at boundary loops, hoping that I can get a selection. Can I? Yeah, no I can. But first we're going to delete the polygons that were created inside. I'm going to disable symmetry so I can see them better. Anytime you're extruding an object in symmetry, you have to keep in mind that these types of polygons get created. Select boundary loop. Okay, great. So now I can deselect all of the polygons from the interior. I'm going to deselect this guy here. And now what am I going to do? I'm just going to move it. Move it close to the middle edge. And now I'm going to add some edges to keep the shape. One here, one here. I'm going to reactivate the symmetry, activate the the subdivision surface. Can add another edge loop here for support. Great. What I don't like is the tip. It's a little bit too too beveled. So I'm just gonna move the points closer. Just gonna go into my side view. I'm just gonna move these points around here. Move this point around here, and this point kind of around here. What I'm going to do is I am going to bring the polygons. Yeah, here we kind of have a cluster, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these edges until we work on it. Kind of like so. So now it's a lot more easier to just bring these points together. Just want to bring them like almost intersecting one another. Right? Yeah, kind of like this. See, so now we have that sharp edge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press MO, move the points here so we get that edge retention. And then I'm going to press KL. And that is perfect. Great, so now all we have to do is create the Damascus texture. So basically what you need is a Damascus pattern, which you can find on Google. See, beautiful texture. I'm going to take it, I'm going to go to reflectance, I'm going to say add GGX. I'm going to say add again, another GGX, and I'm going to put this GGX to add. And I'm going to go to the layer 2 and say roughness about 10% more, around 13%. Let's try this. Oops, this is an old texture. Okay, and I'm going to go to the layer color. I'm going to close it. I'm going to say layer mask. And here, when it asks for a texture, I'm going to go to color, click and drag. I'm going to put it right here. So now you have this interesting pattern on the reflective channel. So let me just add this here. I'm going to go to my texture, go to cubic. Okay, so it looks a lot better. I'm going to add like a physical sky so you get some reflections. You can already see that you get that amazing Damascus pattern, but I don't like these edges, so I'm going to select this texture and I'm going to say seamless, and maybe I'm going to like make it 150%. Okay, how about 110? And let's move it until we get a nice texture. Great. But now we can see that we only want this texture on this part of the blade, and then the handle must be a normal color. So we're going to create another material and add the GGX. We're going to increase the roughness. Then we're going to go in polygon mode. And we're just going to select these polygons. Great. We're gonna apply this new texture on it. Now for the handle, we're just going to go on Google Images again. And we're just going to get a texture for demonstration purpose. Let's see what kind of texture it had. Okay. Okay, so we're going to take this texture. We're going to open the material. It's a nice texture. Actually, not that one, but this one. Yeah. Now I'm going to move it into bump. I'm going to place it there. I'm going to activate bump. I'm going to say around 10%. Now I'm going to go into this little arrow and I'm going to say colorize. We're going to remove the red. Double click on the yellow and make it white. So now we've created a rudimentary bump map, because the bump system uses black and white coordinates to make the surface up or down. Great, the specular is how it should be. What I can do is I can take this bump, go here and add it into the specular texture, then just bump up the specular strength. Okay, I'm going to apply the material. I'm going to say seamless. I'm going to go to UV mapping and put it into spatial. Okay, let's make it a little bit smaller. Kind of like so. Let's give it a render. Perfect. Great. Now what we do need is we need a HDRI backplate so we can get some awesome reflections. And after that, we're gonna start building the box for the knife, because this is gonna be a premium knife. So we're gonna add a sphere. Usually if you buy a HDRI pack, you're gonna get reflection spheres. But in this case, we're gonna pretend that we don't have any. So I'm gonna open this HDRI that I got random from the internet. I'm going to take it from color, paste it into luminance, activate luminance, then go to illumination, GI area light, apply this on the sphere. I'm going to make the sphere invisible in the editor. Right click. Now we're going to add a compositing tag, just because we need this to not be visible when we render, because now if I do a quick render, this is what we get. So yeah. And in this compositing tag, I'm just going to say disable cast shadows. We don't want this to be darkened by the sphere. Not seen by camera. And not seen by AO. Okay. Let's try and render this. And see, now already we get some nice, cool reflections on it. What I can do is I can go here and just make the reflections a little bit more Okay, yeah, this is much better. So we don't get so much detail in the blade reflection. And the non-Damascus part, we can leave it at it. We can leave it as is. Actually, we can make it a little bit more less rough. So we can see clearly that it is a different material. Yeah, that looks great. And you can see here that we're getting this nice specular reflection from the edge of the blade. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the blade material. I'm going to go to default specular. And metal usually has a sharper specular. It has something like this. Let's render it again. Great. So the blade is already done. It looks really good. And now we are going to mainly focus on creating the box. So we're gonna see here that this has like kind of a black cool box. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to make a foam casing for the knife. So I'm gonna select the knife, UL, select boundary edge. Okay. I'm gonna select the boundary edge from here. Okay. And I'm just gonna go on this solo option and turn it on. And I'm gonna deselect all of these parts that we don't need. Because we could create a cube and then use the bool tool to create the shape of the blade in the cube and say that's it. But that creates somewhat of a nasty topology. And if you're showing this to a client and then you're showing the wireframe mode, he's gonna be a little bit scared of that topology. So I'm gonna press extrude, 90-degree angle, just gonna extrude it a bit. Oops, here this edge got deselected. Let's try this again. Extrude it a bit. Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna select the handle. We're gonna select viewport solo again. We're gonna do the same thing. Now deselect the edges that we do not need. D for extrude and extrude up. Great. And now we're gonna press UL. We're gonna select these parts that the new geometry. Now press UP delete. I'm gonna go to the blade. UP delete. And now we have this topology, this geometry that is going to be the starting point for our foam box. We're going to drag this out of symmetry because we don't need it in symmetry anymore. We're going to see that it's a little bit curved. We're going to select it, press T, scale it on the x-axis. Now we're just going to go here. And we're going to stop. First of all, we're going to press connect objects and delete. And then we're going to connect the vertex. Okay. Okay. We're going to delete the materials that's on it. Now let's add a subdivision surface. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna select it. Okay, here we have some problems. It's an easy fix. Just gonna move this here. Move this one here. This guy is gonna go somewhere around. If he wants to cooperate, okay? This guy is gonna go around here. Perfect. But now what we see is that it's too close to the knife. Like it's picture perfect. We need to have a little bit of gap. So we're gonna press KL. We're gonna cut it. We're gonna press UL, select, delete. So now we have this bit of free space. Great. Now what we are gonna do is we're gonna make this into a box. Gonna extrude it again, but this time at 0 degrees. Oops. Oh, and with this we can see that we have a little problem here. Just a quick fix. Ctrl A, optimize. Let's try extruding again. Okay. Now let's fix the topology. Okay, so now let's start up with a friendly top selection. I'm going to select them around here. So we're just selecting the outer edge. First of all, let's fix some geometry now so we don't have to fix it later. UL, select. I'm going to press T and scale it on the y-axis. Raise it up. Let's clean up some geometry here. Okie dokie. Now we're gonna select these points, scale them on the z-axis, and now what we're doing is we're just making the basic shape of the support, so we have something clear to work with. Okay. Great. So now I see that this edge is a little bit rounded, this is sharp, those two are rounded, so it's not consistent. We could add cuts, but seeing that we already have so much geometry at our disposal, we will just move points. We want to fortify this edge, so we're going to bring these points up. This edge is already sharp. Maybe I'm just going to make one cut. Okay, bring this down. Here again, we're going to clean this up a bit. Let's see, can we select just one point? Yes, we can. Of course we can. And here we're going to do the exact same thing. Move this up, move this on the z-axis. Perfect. And now we have, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little notch so you can actually pick it up with your finger. I'm going to create the notch. Let's say, where do I have a lot of edges? Where do I have some geometry that I can manipulate? I'm going to say right here. Yeah, I'm going to create a part where you can pick up the blade right here. And this is perfect because we have 3 edges in the middle. So it's going to be a really easy workflow. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to create a rounded surface. Great. I'm going to add some edge loops. How does this look? Awesome. So now let's create the thickness of the box. So the exterior thickness is easy. We're just going to go like this. Extrude. Done. For the interior part, I'm just going to select this. Going to extrude it outwards. Like so. Okay, so we have the shape of the blade. And now I am going to close it. Okay. I'm going to add an edge loop to fortify this edge. And for the rest, I'm just gonna, first of all, I'm gonna put it in solo mode. I'm just gonna weld the edges. The easiest way to close large holes like this is just do the simple parts first, because then you're gonna get geometry and means to fix the other parts. So I see here that I need to add an edge loop in the middle. Great. So I'm gonna add that edge loop in the middle. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna add another edge loop to support this part. Okay, so we're just gonna drag this out. We're just gonna start to fill in the necessary spaces. You know, just create edges, then weld the points. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a departure point that will create incomings for the other points. So you can see that we're gonna this, Here, let's separate the points a bit. And again, you could just press MD and just close the polygon hole because it's most likely not going to be seen. And you can say triangulate and boop. And if you add an edge loop, if you add enough edge loops, the effect won't be seen. But it's usually better, especially if you have a client, to just try and make the topology a little bit cleaner. Here I'm just using some triangles so I can create the ongoing topology a little bit faster. Now, a lot of people will say that you should never use triangles, and that is a little bit of bullshit, because if this object will not be animated, will not be deformed, then there is no reason for you not to use triangles, as long as it looks the part. Oops, and what is this point right here? Let's delete it. Let's go to this point here. And now when we will add a hardening edge, so we're just going to create this part. We're just going to select this part, and we're going to do as we did for the... Actually, I like this being a little more soft. We're going to do exactly as we did for the blade. We've selected this. Now we're going to press E. Just okay. Here we have a little bit of modeling artifact. So we're just going to bridge this because it's a quad. Great. So where was I? Yeah, we're going to select all of the polygons except these two. I'm going to press E, just extrude. This always happens if you have vertex that are too close to one another, but now it's fixed. I'm going to press KL, add an edge. I'm going to add an edge here. I'm going to add. Okay. Oh, I accidentally created a triangle here. Okay, let me just fix that. So basically, you can create as many triangles you want as long as they are on a flat surface. Okay, great. Let me add a retention loop, show the knife. I would want this to be a little bit more smooth. So what I will do is I will connect these edges here. I'm gonna bring the points a little bit down and up. And again, this is just your taste. Like, I like this better a bit. Yeah, it looks way better in my opinion. Great. So now let us create the material. So we're going to use a foam texture. Actually, we're not even going to use it as a texture. We're just going to take it. We're going to put it in the bump channel and use it as a bump source. I'm going to apply it here. We're going to say cubic. Seamless, please. So now we already have that shape. Actually, would it look better if it's on the negative side? Let's see. Okay, great. Now let's add the cardboard box. I'm just gonna add a cube, extruded. Extruded. Use the object manipulation handles. Yeah, manipulation handles. Just do something like this. Center it. Press C. Extrude inner. Actually, let me just move this like so. Now we're gonna extrude inner. And you can see that I was working in another axis and the object is a little bit rotated on the x-axis. So what I'm going to do is just going to save the cube. I'm just going to disable the backlight for a bit. Just going to rotate this until it matches the object's rotation. Perfect. This I'm going to scale it a bit. We're going to try to get that cozy shape. Perfect. Something like this. I'm going to make the back of the cube bigger. Okay. We're going to select the outer box. Added some edge loops. So we get this nice shape. Great. Great. We're gonna add an exterior and interior edge loop so we get this nice rounded edges. Here we're gonna add some cuts. This box is gonna be the default black, really shiny black plastic. Okay. First, let's add some edges here so it has let's lower the specular a bit because it's still cardboard. Let's add a little bit of softness to it. Like so. Now we will create let's start making, I'm gonna add this in a null. I'm gonna select the sphere as well because I like the position and the reflections. I'm gonna rotate this 90 degrees. Great. Let's give it a render. Beautiful. Actually, I don't like, this is looking a little bit ugly. So we're gonna go here to the texture and we're just gonna say, hey, okay. What if I do this? So let's try cylindrical. Okay, this works a little bit better with our shape. Okay, just. How does this look? Okay, better than it did before. Perfect. Now I'm going to take this, the box, by holding Control drag, copy it, Now I'm just gonna make the case, okay? I'm gonna put it right next to it, and we're gonna just add like some simple text. We're gonna copy it here. Yes. So this is again just a random image I got from the internet. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna put it in the alpha channel, enable. I'm gonna say invert. I'm gonna disable the color and I will just say affect the reflectance. So I'm gonna go to GGX. I'm gonna take it down a bit, something like this. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna apply it. You can see that already it's been applied on the box, but I don't want it to repeat itself. Okay, so I'm gonna disable tile and I'm gonna say flat. I'm gonna go to this tab here and we will be able to position it however we wish. So now I'm just gonna stretch it out a bit. Now we are gonna move it something like this. Let's rotate it so it is facing the camera. And we can see that it is actually mirrored. So we're going to go here and we're going to say length minus 300. So now it should be, yeah, it's perfect. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to activate the bump layer. Again, adding the texture. I'm going to say take it down. Great. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to give it color. Okay, and I'm going to go to reflectance and just take it down a bit. Actually, no, I'm going to disable the reflectance and just give it a strong specular. So we're going to make this really sharp, really thick. Okay, let's see how this looks. Let's go in here, go to alpha. Now we can see that we have some problems because the image is kind of low quality. So we're gonna up the white point. Yeah, and now we get that crisp. Maybe I should lower the specular a bit. Something like this. Does this look better? Okay, let's add. Okay, so actually the image is kind of too low resolution to work, so we're gonna have to find out another image. That's always fun. Okay, so I got another image. This is a little bit more high res. Let's change it. Great. We're gonna go to the alpha. Change it as well. We're gonna go here and we're gonna reset. Okay. We're gonna go here. We're gonna take it. We're gonna put it into the bump channel as well. I'm gonna go to editor. We're gonna say full resolution. You can see here that we have this white edges, so I'm gonna disable color. Okay. So finally we get the result that I was looking for. So now all we have to do is we're going to create a floor. There's going to be a panel. Scale it up. Bring it down a bit. And now we're going to create a target light that we will use for just basic shadow creation. Okay, so we're going to drag it a little bit out. We're going to say soft shadows. You can see here that we're getting a little bit of noise from the texture. So again, we're going to go to the alpha and we will just lower the white point. Let's see, are we still getting it? Nope, perfect. And now we can just apply like basic table texture. Or like, ooh, let's try this scratched metal texture. Just gonna apply it here. We will make it like 80 by 80. We're gonna say seamless. We're gonna open the material, go to editor. We're gonna say we want to see it in 2K. So we see how this looks. Let's add some GGX. Let's go to the roughness. Make it a little bit rough. Lower it a bit. Let's see how does this look. It is possible for us to have some problems because of the reflectance. Yeah, and you can see here that it's getting hit by the reflection sphere that we've just put out. So I'm gonna have to go here and disable the reflectance. Let's see, do we have a problem? Okay, we're just gonna go into the default specular and we're gonna make it a little bit more sharp because this is metal. I'm gonna take this, going into the bump channel, enable. Okay, I'm gonna go to the arrow and say colorize, if I can find it. Great. We're gonna remove the red, change the yellow into white. We're gonna down the bump a bit. How does this look? Again, the blade looks amazing. Like this is but the metal doesn't look so fresh. Maybe if I can take it down a bit, like 20%, 20%. Let's render it now. Does it look? Okay, so it's not looking that bad, but for our use case, I think we would be better off with a wood texture. So I'm just going to open this. I'm going to replace the metal texture with a wood texture. I'm going to take this wood. I'm going to put it into the bump. I'm going to take the bump down a bit. I'm going to go here to reflectance. And I'm just going to say default values. By right-clicking on value, you automatically put it in its default state. You just like lower it a bit. Let's give it render. Okay, let's make the texture a little bit bigger, like 100, 100. Let's see how this looks. I'm just gonna lower, I don't like this part, it's a little bit too bright, so I'm gonna lower the specular strength. Okay, so let's have a test render. Great, I like the specular, I like the tone. I just want to accentuate the shadows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a camera here so we don't forget our position. I'm going to copy this light downwards a bit. Okay. And I'm going to say give me some area shadows. Take down the intensity, and I don't want that much specular, so I'm gonna disable the specular from that light source. Let's have another render. Let's actually check the sphere, and let's deactivate receive shadows. Let's see if this fixes it. Okay, so now if you look here, you can see the shadow. It's a really soft shadow, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to slide. I'm going to bring it up a bit. Let's try soft. Okay, let's try bringing it closer. Let's take it to the physical light and dimming it down a bit. Okay, so that was the problem. The physical light was basically disabling the shadows created by the other light sources. Great. Okay, now let's try with some hard shadows. Awesome. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go here and I am going to try to just move this down a bit to get some shadows on this side. Let's see. Will it let me do it? Yeah, you can already see here. Yeah. Perfect. So now let me just center this. Minus 60. Okay. Let's go to our render settings. Give it a full HD resolution. Great. We don't need anti-aliasing because we don't have any class or transparency. Oops. There we go. And let's render this out. So this is how you can make a really detailed Damascus professional knife. Now this usually would take around 15 to 20 minutes without the explanations, without trying out different methods. When you know exactly what we want to make, this is around a 20-minute, 30-minute job. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something, and see ya.